Alrighty, to give a quick update where we are at on this tractor, we put the gas tank back on, so I have to tighten down the bolts. We built the battery tray, I'll show you that. I didn't attach it in there yet because I just wanted to make sure that everything is good to go underneath it and stuff, so it's just sitting there right now, but it's not going to go anywhere how I bent the metal around. We put the carburetor back on. I actually put a new float because it was leaking a little bit, and I wasn't sure if the float was bad, so I just bought a new one. And we got a new inlet on the carburetor with a new screen too. I just saw them at Tractor Supply while I was there, so I ended up buying it and cleaned out the air filter, which I think that's in the video, so that's good. Clean out the air filter, put that on. Fuel filter, air cleaner, new hose. We bent and made a new, it was just a 3/8 inch brake line for hydraulic line for the power steering, and that's just a double flare on each end too. I used the old fittings on it, so that wasn't a big deal. The other thing we did on it was readjust the governor linkage and all the throttle linkage, because when I actually got it running and idling on its own, it was definitely over revving, and I don't know how they had it set up, but it was pretty crazy of how far it was pulling on the throttle flap. So we ended up doing that, and I'll do a better video on that in the future once we get this thing going pretty good, and I'll do my final tuning and readjust everything up good. So that was another thing we got done. Then the other thing I was doing was loosening up all of the controls for the backhoe and the loader. I think there's actually water in the system, because the day I did it, it was pretty free and nice, and now they're getting stuck again. So they don't want to go down all the way. They don't want to go down all the way. Like that one doesn't want to go down, but it'll go up. This one doesn't want to go down all the way either. That one goes down more. That one goes down more. This one's stuck down all together. So what I'm going to end up doing, I don't think the seals are good in this at all. And I basically had to hit these with a hammer to get them to go down. And all of these I got to break loose by tapping them down a little bit and then just wiggling them back and forth and spraying some WD-40 on there, and it worked pretty good. This one, it got stuck down. I think that there's a bunch of water in all these lines, or at least a little bit, at least sitting in there. And the only other thing I can do is heat it up and maybe break these loose and actually see if that's the case. The one thing I'm going to do today is try to get this hydraulic, the valve off, the whole unit off. I'm going to have to disconnect all these hoses. I'm probably going to have trouble getting some of these off. I'm going to have to mark all this stuff. I have to mark every single one of these and make sure I put it back where it belongs. And hopefully that the marking holds up, because if it doesn't hold up, then I'm going to be in a rough time. But either way, I can follow the hoses, figure out where they should be, and make that happen. Okay, so that's that. Another reason why I think there's water in the hydraulic system, probably just from sitting. But this was free the other day too, and now I can't even move it. These are all wore out pretty bad. So I'm going to have to figure out, I'm probably going to have to weld these fittings onto there so that they're solid. This looks like just mild steel. I don't even know. It should weld fine. If not, I'll figure out a way to make a new thing and attach it onto there fine. So what I'm going to do is there's a drain plug down here. And boom, there you go, drain plug. I'm going to unhook that, drain that out. The other thing I did was to see what was going on with, see what was in the hydraulic pump area. There's a filter reservoir type thing where the fluid goes back into. And so I took that cap off, and it was full of, like, it's right after I ran it too, and it was full of like a foamy white, almost looked like white grease. So I think what ended up happening is it's just churning up that water in there and creating air bubbles. So with that being said, I'm going to try to drain this out, and we're going to see what's in it first, and then we'll know for sure. And I'm going to take all these valves off, and I'm going to take those apart so then we can get seals for them. It shouldn't be too hard to find seals. It's just regular O-rings most of the time, and there might be one goofy O-ring that's like a seal or something like that, dust cover, but overall I think we're going to be good to go. So let's get into it. Alright, so here we are. We're going to be taking out this drain plug behind me, seeing what's in this reservoir. The reservoir is the pillar back here, and I think it even goes along this backside, so this whole thing is the reservoir. So we're going to unhook this and see what's in there. Let's get to it. Oh, well, that is interesting. What the heck is that stuff? Alright, well. Alright, so that's pretty goopy in there. I think we could definitely say that there's water or something. That's not ATF. So these tractors, the whole loader says to use an ATF type A, which is doing a little bit of research into that. It seems like the Dextron 3 is the same thing. So, or equivalent or equal. So, we're just gonna let that drain out. I might get a heater out here, just that blows, or maybe a heat gun even, just to blow some hot air in there and thaw everything out. Or I'm gonna have to wait for a hotter day, maybe in the 40s, and try to get a little bit more of this stuff out of there, because that's definitely not good. Alright, there's a little spring in there, just so if you take it off you can see there's a little bit of rust in this too. A little bit of concerning, you know, that probably means there's definitely water. And then there's this screen filter here, which is probably solid, so loosen up that hose. Everything's frozen up. I mean, everything is. Next up we're going to do the, I'm going to try to get these valves off, at least start taking off all of this stuff, because what I was going to do originally was try to move this and get the backhoe off, either leave the front end loader on or take that off, and then start working on the actual tractor, get the tractor up to snuff. But it looks like we're going to have to work on this hydraulics first, so let's do that and get everything kind of tightened up so we can at least use it, because I'm not going to be able to get this backhoe off or on without this hydraulics working. Alright, I'm going to be working on this now, so what I'm going to do is try to take pictures of everything, and then I'm going to mark everything. And what I'm going to end up doing is just saying, like, top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, side inlet, bottom inlet. And I think that's going to be good enough to remember where things should be. Take this tape, I'm going to mark it, wrap it around the hose itself. So we're going to start here. I'm going to say top 1. Stick it to itself and move just like that. Top 1. Alright, so we're all labeled up. Now what I'm going to do is just try to crack them loose and see where we're at. We might get lucky. Don't want too much of this to go down into my under there, but that's gonna happen anyway, so. Oh, there we go. There we go. I got that loose. Alright, so this is gonna take me a minute to get done. I'm just not going to film it for the sake of it. It's going to take me a minute, so I'm just going to get on to it, and I'll show you the results at the end. See you in a little bit. Alright, after about 2 hours of work in here, we finally got this thing off. Here she is. on the ground. I had to, essentially, we broke one of these guys off. Well, it started to break. I caught it just soon enough, but it didn't break. Two of those got a little messed up. All my hoses came off without too much trouble. And then I had to loosen some up from the end, so I had to like take that off so I could be able to turn this because there wasn't a swivel head on the top side, so that was kind of a pain, but we got it off. And then we ended up just unhooking it from, I had to unhook the two that feed it back here. So here we go. We had this guy here. This is a quick disconnect. And this quick disconnect too, but I couldn't get this one off, so I had to unscrew it from there. So I have to work on that. I think there might be water up in there, which is frozen. And this is loose too, which needs to come off, which explains why that's all messy down there. That's where we are there. We're still dripping down. We're still dripping down there. It did warm up a hair, so I think it has, the fluid has thawed out a little bit, but it's not perfect. The other thing I'm going to do maybe is take this off, but I don't know. I need to take this off, and I need to take this selector valve. So it seems like, oh look, it says loader on top, and it says Ho on the bottom, and it says Davis in the middle. Wow, look at that. So there you go. Alright guys, let's keep working on this, and I'll see you in a little bit. Alright, here we are on the front of the tractor. I just got the levers off for the front spool for the loader, and I got that switching valve that sends the fluid either between the backhoe and the loader. So I'll show you guys that on the ground. There's a little bit of rust in there. Also, the seals are probably bad, and there's definitely water in there because it's all frozen up. I figure I'm just gonna take all of the hydraulic stuff off that I can, other than the hoses. It doesn't seem like the water got into the actual hydraulic lines. It definitely got into the hydraulic system. It probably got into the reservoir itself, and then when I turned up the motor that time, it pushed it through the whole system, or maybe even got into the pump and stuff. But it's definitely not, there's not a lot in the backhoe itself, so that's good. So let me take this front pump off, and we'll get to it. Alright, we're gonna hit the other side. We got the hose, the pressure hose running out, the return hose, low pressure return hose going in. We loosened up the bottom brackets, and now I just have to get the other side that holds onto the PTO shaft, I guess you would call it, that front crankshaft that actually turns the pump. So let me loosen that up and we'll get to it. All right. After wrestling that for a minute, we got her off, and here it is. Here's the pump. It's gooped up in there, so I'm gonna get that in the heat so we can drain that out. I'm glad I'm digging this far because now I know I'm gonna be good to go. Let me show you those. Man, this sun is bright. That's why I know. That's good. We'll just leave it like that. So I'm glad I'm tearing it down this far because I know I'm going to be able to, I'm going to be good to go. Other than some of the hoses that might be blown out, we're just going to have to test them out and see what ones we can get away with keeping and what ones we can't. But let's go back here and I'll show you the stuff I took off the back. We got this thing here is the switch. It goes from loader to the backhoe. You lift it up and down. So there might be a seal in there, that's even bad. I would assume that you take this bottom nut off and the innards will come out. So we'll test that out. Look into that a little bit. And here's our our front spool for the loader. And yeah, there it is. All the connections and everything. This needs a little bit of work, so I'm going to fix that up too. Take it apart, put some new seals on it. There'll probably be a dedicated video for these, just so people, so you guys can see if you're interested in how to do it, and that you can actually do it yourself and it's not too bad, and you could just get, you know, regular seals. You might even be able to do it with O-ring kit from Harbor Freight or something. So there we go. That's that. And then the big spool, which is behind me. I've got the big spool behind me, and this is the backhoe. I've never taken one of these apart, so it's going to be a learning experience. There's not a lot of information about these old machines. So with that being said, it's going to be an experience. I'm going to make sure I film all of this too, so I can make a more in-depth video. I might even make new metal pieces for all this, so all the slop gets taken out of it. Maybe put a new rod through there that's a little bit thicker, stuff like that, just to kind of freshen it up so we have good solid levers. And all that's not too hard to do, so I'm trying not to videotape every single aspect of this, just because it's just unloosening hoses and things. So to save some time on the video and make it a little more enjoyable, I cut some things out, but this is what we did today. Alright, thanks for watching. That's where I'm going to end this one. And I'm going to keep working on this and making videos on it. So if you're following along, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment below. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.